So, for today's film, we're going to be talking about the movie that everybody is talking about, 1999's comedy drama fantasy Being John Malkovich, directed by Spike Jonze, written by Charlie Kaufman. So, the reason I wanted to talk about this movie is that I would call this the weirdest movie that I knew what was going on the entire time, and we'll discuss why that is important in a bit. But I just want to get your immediate reaction because it's a bizarre, it's definitely a weird movie.
Right, and I think it's weird for a purpose. I think the themes can vary pretty widely depending on just your background and what you want to pick out from the story. And the themes that I chose, to really hone in on and focus in on, I really enjoyed. So I thought it was a very different movie. It was unique. It was entertaining. The acting was absolutely amazing. I thought it was great performances from everyone all around. But then again, it's not really a movie to come back to. I felt like I saw it once. There's not really a great reason for me to come back to see it again. Simply because even as weird as it almost tries to be, it's not necessarily that deep. I don't think it's that layered, and the weirdness is a little bit off-putting. Overall, I was happy I watched it for a first time, but in short, I'm not sure if I'll watch it again.
Okay. I totally disagree.
Okay.
This is a movie I haven't yet gone back to rewatch, but I kind of can't wait to.
Interesting.
I sort of, you're right in saying that the themes vary a bit. I think there's more than one thing going on here, but I feel like the main theme, it doesn't really introduce itself until like 2/3 of the way into the film, and at that point, you're retroactively kind of looking at everything that came before a little bit differently, and for that reason, I want to go through, because I think ultimately it's about identity and about how we perceive ourselves and how we're perceived and how those two things kind of bump into each other. But I don't know that becomes especially clear until we enter the entire John Malkovich segment, which is weirdly late in the game.
Okay. By the John Malkovich segment, you mean the part where they find the portal initially? Yeah. When they find the portal, I mean, you slowly realize that basically these characters just want to do anything not to be themselves,
Right.
And they're able to really project all their feelings and emotions onto, John Malkovich and kind of the lifestyle that he's in. But I did find the characters interesting in what they were kind of either insecure about or what they really disliked about themselves. So I thought that was really great how each of those, basically the three main characters outside of Malkovich, for different reasons, they, just can't wait to escape their own lives.
Right.
What I didn't like is I thought the love triangle was a little bit bizarre and unnecessary, and didn't really add that much to it. Obviously, it's kind of a big plot point, so it'd be a little tough to reimagine it otherwise. But what do you kind of think of their relationship?
I totally disagree. Okay. I feel like, to me, that the love triangle and the specific aspects of like the dependency of who is inhabiting Malkovich at what time, or the idea that one character can't love another character unless it is that character inhabiting Malkovich's body, and it's neither Malkovich nor the other character. That really, it's the combination of the two. That, like, I thought that was really interesting.
Right.
So I want to throw out a quote that it's not a quote from Charlie Kaufman. I couldn't find who the original quote was from. There was no I wasn't able to track it down, but I know.
So where'd you find it? Just
I just keep seeing it. Yeah, I see it used in conjunction with Charlie Kaufman, but never. He's like, it's not my quote. We never find out who it is. But I know that this was kind of like at the center of what was driving him or interesting him when he wrote this. And it's, I'm not who I think I am, and I'm not who you think I am. I'm who I think you think I am. Which, I don't know if does that... So, yeah, just, do you have any kind of reaction to that in the context of this?
No, I think it's pretty encompassing of the theme, which is... And I think today, it either... But that's what's really interesting is that with the internet and basically people being able to apply filters to themselves, and like there's just so much stuff you can watch online now and kind of really invest in kind of other people's what it's like a lot to me. I immediately thought of vloggers, like you kind of almost just want to see their first person point of view in order to just be them, right?
Right.
So like you want to see yourself, you want to see the actual eyes and experience through the eyes and actually experience people that just have different lives that you think are just different to
Yeah, but it's weird that even more than that, you're trying to like. That's what I like about this movie is that it doesn't take like it's. Just to say that the theme is identity and like we don't want to be ourselves is sure, yeah, it was good, but like if that was where it stopped, I don't think it would be that that doesn't deserve 2 hours of screen time.
Yeah.
And where I think it kind of excels is that it takes that what might be kind of a revelation or the point of a lesser script is just a given at the outset, and they sort of go a little bit farther as far as like you want to experience through somebody else's eyes or the eyes of somebody that you admire, but you also want to bring yourself along for the ride. So you want to, it's like cherry picking which pieces, like, because no one's trying to become John Malkovich. Nobody's trying to be him. They're trying to inhabit him, and they're trying to be seen as him and use how he's seen to exist as themselves. So it's one thing to like. I think it would be a very different film if the rules of the world were that you become Malkovich and you're just experiencing life as him. Yeah. Whereas, imbuing it with like all this weird identity, like mixed identity of like, I only like you when you are this exact combination of yourself and John Malkovich, which is, even that sentence is a great sentence. I just love that that's the premise of the movie because it's so absurd and funny, but I actually think it's one of the rare, like, I think it does have something a little bit more profound to say about, or not even, that's what I like about Charlie Kaufman is that I don't think he posits any answers. I don't think he's trying to say that
he just raises questions.
Yeah, which sometimes is the best thing that a story can do, I think.
One thing I'm just curious about though is that some of the what I would call like purposeful weirdness or purposeless weirdness is like why is the Office like have really
I have the exact same. So what I think that stems from is that this is not Kaufman has gone on to, this is 1999 and Charlie Kaufman started as a screenwriter and has now begun directing his own projects. And what's weird about the progression of his career is that while the plots have gotten way more abstract, I don't know if you see it. His latest movie is on Netflix. It's called I'm Thinking of Ending Things.
Yeah,
the plot, I mean, to call it a plot is generous. There's almost it's the most, avant-garde abstract story you could have, but the execution is pretty lean. There's not a lot of like excessive weirdness going on that doesn't directly move things along. And I think that's that's a consequence of him being in complete control. Like he knows what weirdness is going to kind of keep things moving, as opposed to when he hands off a script that maybe somebody doesn't. No, I don't want to say doesn't understand, because that's not what I'm not like, oh, Spike Jonze didn't get it. That's not the.
The guy's an idiot,
right? But when he hands off a script to someone who doesn't have his exact perspective on things and doesn't know how to respond to some of the oddities, they're like, okay, I get that this is a weird script. Let's make the Office kind of tidy, and let's make So that I think there is some. I agree with you. I think that's one of the. I really, really like this movie. I think that's one of the few problems is that sometimes there's a disconnect between.
So you don't actually think it really serves like an inherent purpose?
I'm not saying that it doesn't.
Did you see a clear one? I'm just wondering.
I did not. Okay. I was distracted by a lot of some of the oddities, and even if they do, ultimately, kind of what matters the most is the audience takeaway. Sure. So maybe there's some brilliant. Maybe it's the best thing. But it doesn't matter. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of lost on me, and it detracted from the stuff that I did feel like I was getting.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, and also I would have liked more, because immediately I bought into it because I thought the opening scene is great with him being a puppeteer. Right. And I was like, okay, I want to know more about kind of his puppeteering career, and I think they could have expanded that more, because obviously, the puppeteering is, like a vehicle to actually show what the kind of whole movie's about, right? That he all he wants to do is kind of express himself through other characters, right? And John Malkovich, he's able to actually live inside his own puppetry.
And the cool thing about the puppeteering is that I like that he's talented. I
Yeah.
like that he has an actual skill for like manipulation and puppeteering. But the cool thing about that is the like every story that he tells with people in his own life using the puppets, they're all these romantic, like they're all when he uses Cameron Diaz's character
Yeah.
in the puppetry, like she's this weird version of herself that exists kind of only tangential to him, and it's this weird like his it's like his greatest desire is for everyone to exist like from his perspective, or to
Right.
exist like to kind of stop existing when he's not looking, and that's I don't know, that feels very in keeping with that idea, like taking it one step further from it's not even just that he's selfish or manipulative. Like it's this fundamental, like he's just a black hole of ego, and the only things that can exist are things that exist either because of him or for him, or like I
Yeah.
don't know. Does that I'm getting a little far up my own ass
No, I
here,
got. But that's what kind of the movie encourages you to do,
right,
right?
which I did, yeah.
Right, but I think also, or rather, another point I wanted to talk about is there a difference for you if it wasn't being John Malkovich and it was being John Cusack? You know, like, do you think that John Malkovich, as the persona that they inhabit, is unique, adds anything, or is it really like they just chose literally like just kind of a random actor?
Yeah, I don't think it. I'm sure this movie could have worked if you subbed him out.
Right.
What I like about Malkovich is that he's just the most unassuming. Like I think in real life he's got a really private personal life. I think
Right.
he's very so to use him as the vehicle of like that's another great scene is when Malkovich goes into Malkovich,
Yeah.
and all he sees is Malkovich, and all they're saying is Malkovich, and it's like a great little gag to stand in for like just getting way too far into yourself, and
Yeah.
you can't escape. It's I thought that was hilarious, but he's a good vehicle for it because he's not like it's not being Charlie Sheen who's in the
Yeah.
movie, but you're not taking someone who's already got this bloated, distorted ego. It could be interesting; it would just be a different script.
Right.
But I think for their purpose, like he's a good he's funny. He's like a quirky guy, and
Yeah.
it adds again to I'm a little more forgiving of this just because it's funny enough, but it adds the oddity that maybe isn't inherent to like the themes or the script,
Sure.
but it's just a little quirky. It's just a little fun.
And then, did you also think that the acting performances were spectacular?
Everybody did a great job. It's not a tour de force film. This isn't an Oscar bait movie. No one's having like a beautiful come to Jesus breakdown moment.
Right.
So there's not that. Like there's no I dreamed a dream. Like it's
Yeah,
you don't get any of those. But consistently, yeah, it's a lot of character acting, and it's cool to see someone like John Cusack, who I normally see play John Cusack, do sort of like a antisocial puppeteer.
Yeah, and didn't you think Cameron Diaz was just
Same
amazing?
thing, yeah. Usually she's a very straightforward typecast actor, and it's nice to see her just play a total, almost cartoony, but something urgent enough about the characters that
Right.
they never fall into like complete two-dimensional nonsense.
Right.
It strikes a really good balance, I think, because it keeps you taking it seriously, even though it knows that it's kind of one of the weirder premises that. But that's sort of the next thing that I wanted to talk about, and I think coming off of our talk about Fetch the Bolt Cutters, this idea that we talked about just there about making sure that you have a surface level story that you're telling that's easy enough to grapple with, and then getting free reign to do whatever the
Right.
fuck you want. I think this is the perfect example of that, because this, I mean, it had it's got pretty notable actors. It's a commercial film. Like this is not a little avant-garde independent. Like this is a
Sure.
studio film that made money and existed to make money.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see people like Charlie Kaufman and Spike Jonze play in the confines of early enough in their careers. Now
Sure.
they can both kind of do what they want because they have name recognition, but
But it definitely helped set them up, this movie. No doubt about it.
that's why it's cool to see where they and you wonder if they were given more free reign, would it have been less accessible? And that's where I think like playing within the studio system and an argument could be made for like restrictions like that actually helping you get to a better film or tell a better story.
Right. It's always a balance, I really dislike when either artists or actors or directors or writers are like, they're trying to make me do stuff because they're so worried about the money. It's like, yeah, well, that's the whole purpose, all right? Yeah. My boss is also worried about me making money. If I just started, not doing that, they probably wouldn't be very happy, So, I like your comparison in that you have to trust people and be like, all right, you can make this as weird as you want, but you also are taking the risk, and you need to make sure that there's enough substance there where everyone knows where we're headed, or can at least. That's the other thing. You don't need to necessarily know what's going to happen next.
And I'd argue you really don't in this movie.
Right. But I think that you need to have enough background and understanding to make a prediction. Or, yeah.
You just have to feel like the characters are following the rules of their world,
Right.
and that they're consistently reacting the way that they should. Once a character just becomes a tool for whatever theme you're trying to peddle, that's when you lose the audience because there's no, you feel like you're watching somebody's TED talk rather than a story with believable people, and B, you run the risk of coming closer to propaganda than art because you have one message that you're trying to peddle, and you're gonna do that at any cost possible.
Right. Like, and I know we've talked about this before. Like, you shouldn't be really starting with your theme or starting with your message. You should start with, all right, this movie is fun, it's cool, like, it's entertaining, it's gonna make money.
Or this is something that interests me, and let's just see what happens if I let it play out. Not like, I want to show people why religion's bad, and I'm gonna no matter what, I'm gonna do it. That's boring as hell, and this movie's not boring for sure.
No, definitely not boring. But also kind of the final thing, because I think it's kind of a good stopping point, is them getting dumped out on the side of the highway. Did you think that had any meaning, or was that just like?
Yeah, it's good. I'd love to read the script and see if it was specific to, like, I wonder whose decision that it was like the Jersey Turnpike was. I wonder if that was quirky, or if that was something that I mean, I don't know that. I think you can have decisions like that are neither arbitrary, quirky, whatever, or these massive, all meaning thematic. I think maybe the service that held was just the jarring experience of, like, you're going from this euphoric thing to, like, where's gross, the Jersey Turnpike, like,
right. For me, it was the having a cost associated with it, because otherwise, right, if you just came right back out into the office,
well, that's what I mean. Yeah. Something like, you just don't want to spit them out somewhere. So, like, is it specifically that it had to be the Jersey Turnpike? Probably not, but it's somewhere, that's where their mind went.
Somewhere that's not great.
Right. So on that level, I'm cool with that. It's okay, Spike. That's hard.
Yeah, and I think I mean, Spike Jonze, what else has he done?
Well, he directed Her.
Right.
And I don't know if he wrote that, but he did direct it.
Yeah, he's done some great stuff, and obviously Charlie Kaufman is a legend now just for his screenwriting. So, no, I definitely think it's absolutely worth checking out. I cannot say I would recommend it to everybody, or be like, all right, your whole family's gonna love this movie.
But it is something that I could tell most people to give. Not everybody, but I feel like most people could give this a shot. Yeah. Because of what we talked about as far as, like, it's not the most, it's an absurd plot and an absurd story, but it does treat you with respect and let you, like, it just gives you something to grapple with on the surface without. So check it out.
Yeah, take a look.
You can do whatever.